So this is our first gift knit. It was actually finished in September before we went on vacation. And this is a pattern that was used for the Jimmy Beans Craft Vent 2017 MCAL. And it's by Unraveled Designs and Yarn. And I have knit it as a gift for my mother-in-law. She requested a scarf, and these are her colors that she likes. So we have Bourbon from Bad Sheep Yarn, Blue Lagoon, which is an Explorer Knits and Fibers color, a Madeline Tosh Unicorn Tail in paper, You Do Not Yield, also from Explorer Knits and Fibers. This is 40 Winks fiber from their Pi Day set. And this and the Bourbon are both in the tree skirt that I knit this year, so they're pretty special. And then You Do Not Yield, I will be making a sweater for myself out of. I just stole a few yards for this scarf project. This is a McMullen Fiber Co. Mini that came in like a Franken set. So I don't know that it has a name. This is another Explorer Knits and Fibers color from their Iceland collection, as is this last color. And we went to Iceland for our 2024 vacation. So all tied in and yarns that mean something, and also my mother-in-law's color palette that she requested. So I hope she enjoys this gift knit. November finished object. These are the Meadow Boot Cuff Toppers by Sydney and Grace Designs. And these are for my soon-to-be sister-in-law, who I just referred to as my sister-in-law. She had told me that she wanted boot cuffs, and I immediately filed this away in my things I could knit for people section of my brain. And I hope she likes these. My brother-in-law told me that her favorite color is Tiffany blue. These are not quite Tiffany blue, I know that, but also as a family, they play Zelda a lot, and Painted Fern Fiber Co. came out with a Zelda-inspired line of hand-dyed yarn this past year. So this is the Hey Listen colorway, which I thought was very appropriate and hopefully close enough to Tiffany blue that she will enjoy them. November finished object gift knit. These are the Entangled boot cuffs, also for my soon-to-be sister-in-law. And these I knit in Crow and Crescent Nightmare. So I was looking for a pattern that had something to do with Tangled, because that is her favorite movie, and I couldn't find anything that really spoke to me. So I went for this pattern, which is called Entangled, which I'm hoping will be close enough to a nod to Tangled. And I wanted something in a neutral, I wasn't sure at this point what color boots she owns. And these you can kind of wear like this way right side up or that way right side up, fold over this big ribbed cuff. There's kind of a variety of ways that the pattern showed these being worn. So I was hoping between like the bright color and a more neutral but not completely tonal color that they would suit her and she would be happy. So fingers crossed that these go over well. So this is the Slipstravaganza by Stephen West, and I have converted it, it's a blanket pattern, I have converted it to a tree skirt. Basically what I did is in the pattern, there is a solid color center circle, And I did a bunch of math and determined that that center circle would be a good area to leave out. So I provisionally cast on the number of stitches in the pattern after that circle when you start doing the patterned like textured stitches. So I started here with the provisional cast on. And then at the end, I came back in and added what I call the collar of the tree skirt, which is filling in with a solid color, doing a little ribbing neckband, adding the button band, and the hole for the water gauge to come up through. So I did all of that after knitting the rest of this as the pattern indicated, with the exception that I kind of went with a medium size in between. The pattern does small and large, and small I thought was going to be too small for our space. Large I thought was going to be too large. So I did some math and like adjusted each of the texture sections to kind of accommodate the finished size I wanted this blanket. All right, let's talk about yarn. This uses so many yarns from Indie Dyers. So in the middle, the ribbing of the tree skirt is done with Uninvited Guest by Dying Wishes Yarn Co. This is a DK pattern. And then this collar is knit in the colorway Envy on a tweed, and that's by Fantasy Fibers Yarn Co. Then this purpley color is Smokescreen by Sugar Plum Circus. We have Uninvited Guest as the first of the honeycomb colors. Then we have two sock yarns held double. So one of these colors is Bourbon by Bad Sheep Yarns, and the other color is Pecan, or it's a Pie Day color from 40 Winks Fibers. I need to look up the actual name of it. It always trips me up. But anyway, it's a Pie Day mini. Then we have the Emerald Killer from, oh goodness, why am I suddenly blanking on the name of this company? Anyway, I'll put a caption. Then this is the main, like the full skein color of the 40 Winks Pie Day skein. This was like cranberry pie inspired. This is Silver and Gold from Long Dog Yarns. Then we have Blueberry something from Bad Sheep Yarn, and Sin Corridor from Fantasy Fiber Yarn Co. We have All That Hard Shiny Armor from Golden Age Studio Fibers. This is Envy again. This is Dragon Scales from Moondrake. This is the Sugar Plum Circus color again. This is the Pie Day color again. This is just the Bourbon held double. And we have Candle Glow from Fantasy Fibers with the Silver and Golds from Long Dog Yarn. Then we have Uninvited Guest again, the Emerald Killer again, and then I got a teensy bit creative with finishing this off. I had one skein of every colorway, so squeezed a little bit of the blueberry colorway in here. It was striped with the Sin Corridor, the Candle Glow, and Uninvited Guest makes another appearance, All That Hard Glossy Armor, and then the I-cord bind off is done in the Dragon Scales colorway. I'm super pleased with how this came out. I'm super pleased with all of my colorway choices. My goal was to go for something more jewel toned, but that fits with our classic Christmas color knit stockings that I made. So I wanted something that wasn't like 100% the like traditional Christmas colors, but also didn't clash with that. And I think we landed in a really nice place. The buttons are from Tinker's Hollow, and we chose 3 different light woods and did them all in the same color of, or same shape and size of button. Chose one tree that's native to where I'm from, one tree that's native from where David's from, and then one tree that's native where we live now. And the buttonholes were all done in the Sugar Plum Circus colorway, smokescreen. Yeah. Just needs a tree. Buttons are on. Buttonholes are in. Water gauge hole is in. Now we just need a tree. In December, I had 2 finished objects. I actually finished the sweater first, although started second. But we have the Ansadora shawl and the Duchess crew. The shawl is knit in Long Dog yarn, Princess Bride collection colors. I haven't blocked it or trimmed up the fringe. And I used a skein of Urban Pearl, which is the dark gray color that you see. So I started by doing the scrappy layout of the colors in the shawl pattern. The shawl pattern gives you several ways to mix your scraps together. It's meant for Advents, but I was using it for this particular collection. So this first half of the shawl, the colorway names are all quotes from the film, and I have arranged the colorways in the order that the quotations occur in the film. Yes. I'm like, do I want to go through them all? Can I remember off the top of my head all of the colorway names? And what order they occur in. Anyway, maybe I can. Let's see. So first is As You Wish, then is This a Kissing Book? This is True Love, You Think This Happens Every Day, The Dread Pirate Roberts, Princess Buttercup, Anybody Want a Peanut, The Cliffs of Insanity, Hello, My Name is Inigo Montoya, You Seem a Decent Fellow, I Hate to Die, Rest Well and Dream of Large Women, Never Go In Against a Sicilian When Death is on the Line, Dread Pirate Roberts again, As You Wish, Because They Roll Down the Hill, ROUS, You Rush a Miracle Man, You Get Rotten Miracles, Only Mostly Dead, Nice MLT, Mutton Lettuce Tomato, Humperdinck, 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 no, I'm sorry, I'm Not a Witch, I'm Your Wife, and then Humperdinck, 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 Have Fun Storming the Castle, Twoo Wov, Princess Buttercup, Hello, My Name is Inigo, Is This a Kissing Book?
used as artistic license because the grandfather says, no, it's kissing again. And the grandson says, well, I don't mind so much. And I thought it was nice to bookend with this colorway. And then As You Wish starts the second repeat of the colorways in quote order, which I was not clear about in the original video.
Repeat it. So I did 2 repetitions of everything in quote order. And then I put this stripe of Anybody Want a Peanut in the middle. And I started the semi-scrappy layout, but I altered it. So in the semi-scrappy layout, if I understand the pattern correctly, your like contrast colors would be this lace row. Instead, I used the quote unquote main color for this lace row, and I used the contrast color to do the 2 border garter rows. And we did this in fade order on this side. So yellow into green, green into blues, the blues into the gray into the pinks via the kind of beige, into the red, into the purples, purpley brown, into As You Wish, which is kind of beigey, peachy, creamy, and then back through the fade colors. And then I did it the way the semi-scrappy layout is written. So you'll see here the lace rows go to those contrast colors until the end. So that is that project from December. Okay, my final December finished object is the Duchess Crew, and I knit this in Balrog from Fantasy Fibers yarn and the Grenouille Co. 2024 Advent Winter Walk Edition, Lunar Advent Winter Walk Edition. So I did a couple things with this pattern. The pattern itself is a like sport weight pattern. I only had sock yarn. I decided I did not want to hold the sock yarn double, so I sized up and used a size that used stitch counts very similar to the sock weight Kintra that I knit, that I like the fit of, but that was a little bit bigger because I wanted a little bit looser of a sweater. And so I'm using sock weight. I use the same size needles as the Kintra calls for instead of the size needles that the Duchess calls for. And in the Duchess, the main color is supposed to be all of these stripes that you see where I used the Advent minis. And the contrast color is supposed to be where you see the dark brown dividing lines. I basically inverted the color scheme because I wanted more of the Advent colorways, but I did the ribbing all in the main color and then all of these stripes in the main color. So we went from the very first color in the Advent all the way through all 24 colors in the body. And this is a cropped pattern, but I like my things a little longer cropped. And I wanted to use all 24 colors. So that's how I did that. And then for the sleeves, I like strategically picked. So the number 1 color, you don't get very much of it all. It's actually all the way up here on the shoulder. So I started with that on the sleeves. I wanted to make sure it got a moment. And then I strategically picked enough colors based on the math to get the right length of sleeves for me, but so that it would also go with the sweater and not look like I just left out a bunch of colors. Especially, I didn't want to just leave out the end. I didn't want to leave out the beginning. I wanted this. I'm really, really super pleased with how this turned out. It fits great. I love it. I don't even want to block it because it fits so well. It's just 60 degrees right here right now and I can't bear it. But yeah, those are my December finished objects. So knitting planning time. Next year I am kicking off a project that I'm very excited about called Library of Socks, where I draw literary inspiration for the colors and the patterns to knit pairs of socks. My goal is kind of like one every other month, so I'll aim for 6 pairs in 2025. And what I've got most of the yarn for at this point, at least, is Around the World in 80 Days, the namesake of my dog, the Fellowship of the Ring. I'm going to do the Prancing Pony sock pattern, Winnie the Pooh, The Bone Season, A Midsummer Night's Dream, and Hercule Poirot. And then bigger projects, I'm aiming for like 6 of those next year. I'm doing a Voyage cardigan inspired by the covers of the author's preferred edition of the Bone Season series. This is for a Love Note sweater. This is for the Ansadora shawl. Those are Long Dog yarn Princess Bride colors. A Solvi sweater, a NYX, and a Kintra. And then I'm working on winding yarn for my tree skirt. And then also I am winding yarn for my festive cast on box from Skein and the Stitch, which will be an heirloom jumper by Fabled Knitwear. And yeah, that's the 2025 knitting plan so far. All right, here's everything minus the gift knits, which live with their new owners, that I finished knitting in 2025. And not necessarily any particular order. The Prancing Pony socks, the Hobbiton vest, the Love Note, NYX, heirloom jumper, the Duchess crew, Mrs. Tittlemouse socks, Honey Pot socks, Kintra. Ansidora. And the Slipstravaganza as a tree skirt. Here are all my finished knits from 2025, minus the gift knits. Because when I first shot this layout, I definitely forgot my Voyage cardigan, which I can't forget because it is beautiful and I love it. I just have to finish reinforcing the steek so I can wear it. And sorry, I was hasty about laying it out, so the stripies are doing weird little things. But I promise it lays right. Look at that. So good. Ah, I love it. The colors are all from the Monochrome collection by Explorer Knits and Fibers. And then the sleeves are a Woolberry Fiber Co. colorway. And this is inspired by the colors and the artwork of Samantha Shannon's The Bone Season in the author's preferred edition. And so this is my reading cardigan. I love it. The wooden buttons came from my local yarn store. They're an artist here locally. So yeah. Now that's everything I knit.